Hello and welcome back in this five-part series of how to create your own curriculum. Part 4 is all about unit studies. My name is Jade and I am a homeschooling mother of one. I homeschooled for 10 years and I have been an educator for 20, and my master's is in parent, family, community, and youth education. Let's get started on the 8 steps on how to create a unit study. The first thing you're going to do, step 1 in creating a unit study, is pick something your child is already interested in. Before I get into this example, let me explain what a unit study is. So a unit study is when you take multiple subjects and you teach it all based on one theme or one topic. And there are a lot of benefits for using unit studies because it makes planning easier. It's more engaging for your child because you're focusing on what they enjoy. So if you think back to that curriculum development and curriculum planning, interest-based learning is focusing on their interests and their passions. And then there's less switching between subjects, and it also helps with better retention. So for my example, let's say your child is in love with the ocean. They love everything about the ocean. There are multiple ways that you can cross this with different subjects. So reading, science, writing, art, and then I put little small notations because you can also connect this to PE and social studies. Now, the first step is really just the beginning. You have to create a unit study. But step 2 is narrowing down the topic. I'm going to use a real life example, my very own child. And as I go through the steps, you're going to see that I made adjustments as we went. Nothing is set in stone. So when my child was younger, she was really into animals, like loved animals. Now she still does. But focusing on all the animals was too broad. So we narrowed it down. I was like, well, what specific mammal do you care about? She made it very specific that it was dogs. And I I can spot a breed of dog from a mile away thanks to her. So choose your topic and then narrow it down. The third step is picking your subjects. I like to choose all the subjects. I like to tie everything in because it makes life easier when it's time to lesson plan. But choose your subjects beyond just the core subjects of reading, writing, math, science, and social studies. Think about art. And when I say that I had to adjust my daughter's unit study, it's because it also became business and becoming an entrepreneur. So those elements ended up getting added in a little bit later. And remember, you do not need all of them every single time. And by all of them, I mean subjects. Step 4, find your learning goals. What do you want your child to learn by the end? Now, if you're watching these in order, you've already watched the lesson about how to create lessons based on standards. So these are 2 of the standards that we focus on. Because my daughter's interest in dogs went beyond just learning different breeds, she also wanted to write a book. And so we were able to add that in. That's where that business element came in. She also made the cover art. I don't know why the word just went out of my head. Design. She designed the cover art for the book that she wrote as well. And I've only listed 2 of the standards that this met, but there were a lot that were covered. For step 5, you are going to gather your resources. Quick note, you don't need to buy anything new. You can use items. You can utilize your library. You can do swaps with other homeschool families. But your resources could include books, videos, worksheets or workbooks, hand-on activities, field trips, virtual tours. There are so many different resources that you can plug in to your unit study. For my daughter, when she decided to write the book, I went out and I hired someone who could do consultation for her to show her the process of self-publishing and then getting the book available to sell, vending opportunities, all those things that I wasn't familiar with. In step 6, you're going to plan activities based on the subjects that you decided to utilize. So for writing, the goal here was to write 1 chapter each week, and I'm a writing teacher. Check out Teacher Jay's Writing Academy. So I helped her with all the structure and some of the editing. I actually stepped back and I made her take this project on mostly by herself. The math, she had to budget expenses. So once the book was complete, she had to determine what she was going to price it at. And then the author copies aren't the same as the price that you sell them for. So when she had vending opportunities, she had to determine what price she was going to list those as well, and then subtract the vending booth fees. So a lot of math. And then the art, she created the cover art, and then she also made some animations that go along with her book, Traveling Paws. I'll just give another example, going back to the child who loves oceans. If I want to tie in all of these different subjects, with reading, I might have them read books about the ocean. For writing, I might have them write opinion paragraphs about the ocean. Science, the different layers in the ocean, and I'd also tie that in with art because I'd have them draw out the layers and then draw sea life. And then for math, I figure out some type of measurement activity related to the ocean. For physical ed, we go swimming. Does it have to be at an ocean? No, it could be at a local pool. And then social studies, have them identify the 5 oceans. That ties into geography. Step 7, if you've already made your big old chart of scope and sequence and then you broke that down and you have your units, you're then going to schedule in these lessons and these activities. Try to keep it as simple as possible. And then step 8, the final project. This is where everything comes together. Let them show you what they have learned. This is also going to tie in to the next video in the series, assessing and tracking. But different examples for a final project. They can make a poster. Maybe they'll do a mini book or a presentation. I love a good diorama. Also, back to my daughter. Her final project, of course, was publishing the book and then dispersing it, making some money back from the money that I gave her. Well, I didn't give it to her, but I paid for the consultation fee. All right, and here's a simple formula that you can use when you're creating a unit study. I love charts and graphs if you haven't noticed. So start with your topic, list your goals, list the subjects, the activities, and the project. Some common mistakes that you want to avoid is making sure that it's not too big. You don't want to overwhelm yourself. You don't need to overplan unless that's your thing. If you like backup plans for the backup plans, by all means, do that. You don't have to copy school exactly. If you're homeschooling, hopefully you're at the point where you realize that traditional school doesn't need to match your homeschool. And then try not to use too many worksheets. Unless you love worksheets. I really don't like worksheets. I love a workbook. But again, you're going to do what works best for your family. And you just pause here and then take a look at this example. Simple unit study formula still, topic, goals, subject, activities, and project. And in the comments, let me know what you struggle with the most when it comes to your planning. Or if any of this was complicated. If you want more information, more free resources, follow all of my social media pages, and make sure you visit www.teacherjade.com to check out my writing courses for youth ages 8 to 18 and the Parent Academy, where you'll be able to get your free downloads.